Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 7th week of the webinar series, Embracing Change. Today, we have a very special guest, Anisa. I'm going to tell you a little story. It's going to be very brief. When I was diagnosed and I was told that they were not able to explain why at 35 I had developed 10 tumors and had stage 3 cancer, I started to explore the answers as to how I could have contributed to my sickness. And Anisa was the first person that I met in her practice. And I walked in and she asked me how I was doing. And I told her not well. And then she said, so how were you before? I said, I was going 100 miles an hour. And she said, now? I said, 0. So she goes, perfect. And I looked at her strangely and she said, yes, you're an arrogant human being. And I asked her, I said, I'm paying you for this? She said, yes. And she said, prostrate and beg for your life. And I didn't understand at the time. And I said, she said, you don't ask, you're a Muslim and you don't ask God for anything. And I said, well, I have a beautiful wife. I have incredible children. I had a great upbringing, got a beautiful education, and I'm doing very well, except for what's happened recently with my health. It's been a beautiful life. And interestingly enough, I spent the next 9 months begging to be alive between each namaz, as I prayed in between each namaz. So those of you who know Anisa, obviously she's not much kinder, much gentler with you. And obviously each one of us needs what we need at that moment in time. But that was my first experience with Anisa, and that was 2004 September. And since then, she's supported me, my loved ones, and many of the families we serve. And so today we're going to talk about how our thoughts and emotions impact our body. And she's going to take us through a little journey, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So Anisa, thank you very much for taking the time to be here today and honor us with the wisdom. And I'll be here as your sidekick as we move through this webinar. So welcome.
Thank you, Faisal. Are we on?
Yes, go ahead. Everybody's listening.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I didn't know it was that long ago, and I don't think I was that harsh on you, Faisal. You have added a few bits here and there. But anyway, I'm very happy that you're still around and you invited me to host this webinar. I'm very pleased, and I really thank each and every one of you for being here and taking time out of your busy or unbusy lives, as many of us are not that busy as we used to be, to devote some time to look at what this whole webinar is about. And I know that some of you could have been curious because of the word biological upgrade. And what does that mean even? So I'm going to take you through that. But first, I want to say that I want to make this a very interactive webinar. So anytime you have any questions, please feel free to write in the chat, and then we can probably go along and see how you are understanding, not understanding, what else you would like to understand or ask, and then we can make it a little bit more interactive. So the first thing I want to start with is, as you all know, what we are all going through is this pandemic. None of us is spared. It looks like we all are in it. We are all experiencing in different ways in our lives. Some of us are housebound. Some have not seen our loved ones for a while. Some have to go see the doctors, and we are too scared to go to hospitals, and we are scared to travel, and we don't know what to do. And it's such uncertain times in our lives. And I feel as long as maybe we remember as humanity, probably it has never been like this at this scale as it is now. It is at such a big scale that we are all in it. Even probably the wars didn't bring us down to this stillness as we have to be still now. Having said that, I know that it is a very challenging time for many of us. People are afraid to lose jobs, how to feed their families, how to pay their bills, how to get their education, how to see their loved ones. You know, there's so many challenges. But if we can go through this, I know we will come out of it as better human beings, as new person, as a new self, and not those old self that never worked for us as it is at a global level. It worked for us at a smaller level, but not at a global level. So I want to start with saying that everything that we experience in life is through our thoughts. And I'm sure you all agree, because if we didn't have thoughts, we wouldn't be even understanding what all this is about. The thing is that when we have a thought, oh, before I say that, do you know that we have 70 to 90,000 thoughts going through our head every day? And they say that 90% of them are repetitive thoughts. They're not new thoughts, right? So all thoughts, same thought is going to give us same choices. Same choices lead to same behavior gives us same experience is going to give us same emotion, and same emotion is again going to create the same thought. Okay. So if I have fearful thought, it's going to come back, take a whole cycle and come back to another fearful thought. Because what we are doing is we are regurgitating that whole energy. As maybe some of you know that who we are is mostly energy bodies. Okay, thoughts are the energy part of who we are. Okay, we have a physical body, but we are more non-physical. But somehow we have never given that much attention to our non-physical. We have given more attention to the physicality of the five senses that we perceive things with. Okay. When we are actually multisensory beings. So coming back to, if we are creating the same pattern, same thing, how can we make a change? We can't. We cannot change our reality. Okay, so our reality is how we think, how we feel, and how we act. We create our personalities, and our personality creates our personal reality. Now, what do we do? How does, like, for example, and I would like to give examples also, like if there is a hot day outside, you can look out and say, wow, what a hot day it is. And I don't like heat, and I don't like summer. Now, already the message you're giving to your body is, I don't like this. So the body understands it as a stress. It's a stressful thought that you're giving to your body. Agreed? And when the body goes in a stress mode, it starts secreting adrenaline and norepinephrine, which are stress hormones, right? So that it can help us deal with that situation. Now, these stress hormones actually help us in fight-flight mode. More than that, but a hot day is not a fight-flight mode, but the adrenaline, the stress hormones are already secreted in your body. So what does these hormones do? Okay, we are charged with these hormones because stress hormones is going to make us very alert, very active. We want to do things, but we don't know what I can do. So, of course, then we make certain choices as to, I'm not going to go out, or I should be having, my employee did not turn the aircon on and I'm still hot, or whatever. I mean, there are different choices we make. And based on those choices, we behave in a certain way, we create not a good experience, and then we get all upset. And again, the same emotion we feel is of upsetness, fear, anger, blame, and all of those, low vibrational emotions we create in our body. Now, I could look out and say, wow, it's a hot day. And sun is good for the world. We get a lot of energy from the sun. Just to say that, and I'll do the best I can in this. Maybe I'll wear lighter clothes, or I won't go out, and I'll go out when it's a little bit cooler. You see, what I did is I looked at the same situation, and I made a different choice, how to act and react to it. When you make a different choice, how to act and react, you're creating a new experience, okay? And then you start feeling a new emotion of like, oh, I feel okay, I feel good, I feel more relaxed, I feel a little happy, okay? And that emotion is going to bring a more better neutral thought. And very soon, our energy body changes and we feel lighter. Now, the outer reality is still the same, but how we looked at it and perceived it, we created the reality for us, okay, at an inner level. So we are all upset. So, if when we can change a lot of how we feel. See, when we were raised, we were children. We were raised, we were told, think hard, think right, work hard, do this, and then you'll be successful, and then you will be happy. Okay? So what has happened is that we are trying to control our outer reality because outer reality gives us the avenue to do. Okay? So we are always trying to control the outer, so that when that is controlled and fixed and goes according to how we think it should go, then I will feel better. Okay. So everything, in fact, we do in our lives is to feel good. So I can feel more relaxed, I can feel more peaceful, I can feel more love, I can feel more joy, I can feel more happiness, more bliss. Because you know why we want to feel that? Because that's our natural state of being. If you look at a child is just happy till they get hungry, and they're fed, and then they're happy again. They don't need anything for the environment to change. Okay. But we are programmed to change our environment, and many of us do that at the cost of our well-being. We put so much stress on ourselves. So I always tell people, we have become human doings instead of human beings. We are human beings, but we don't know how to be because we were programmed not to be. If we were feeling happy and we were feeling joyful and playful and all, we were told, hey, make use of your time, do something more constructive, go and do this so that you can be better. And then, so we are constantly meeting other people's expectations, the programming that we have programmed ourselves with. And many of these programmings are so ingrained in us that we are not even aware of it because it's at such a subconscious level. And some of them, of course, we are aware of, but then we don't know what to do about it. So many people like they say, oh, how can I stop my mind? I can't stop my mind. And I tell them it's not about stopping your mind. The nature of your mind is to think. You cannot stop that. Okay? What you can do is teach the mind how to think better, more happier thoughts, better thoughts, uplifting thoughts. thoughts that are going to make you feel good. Yeah. Because eventually, that is what we all want, is to feel good. In fact, I remember one of the persons I have greatly admired, she said, there is no other purpose in our lives but to feel good. And everything else will arise from that. When you create that state of beingness, to feel good within yourself, not because of your external environment, but who you are. And so, having said that, you know, we are constantly struggling to meet people's expectations, our expectations, and then we are carrying the same programming from our childhood up until now, till something happens to us. Either we get sick, we lose a relationship, we lose money, finances, my job, your health deteriorates. So any kind of loss will actually happen to bring your attention to what is really important to you. I'll just give you a little story, and it's a really good story, and it's about a fisherman, and maybe some of you have heard this. And he goes out in his little boat and he catches fishes every day. And when he has caught certain amount, he just comes back and he relaxes and just enjoys life. And there's this other guy who goes out in a bigger boat and he says, what are you doing? And he said, nothing, I just caught my day catch and I'm relaxing. And he says, why don't you go out more and catch more fishes, spend more time? And he says, why? He says, then you will have more money, you will have a bigger catch and you can have more money. He said, what will I do with more money? And he says, well, then you can buy a bigger boat. And he says, and then what will happen? He says, then you will catch even more fishes. And he says, and then? He says, well, then you can buy a trawler. And then what happens? Well, then you will catch so much that you will have a nice big home. And then you can sit and relax and enjoy. And then he looks at him and he says, so what do you think I'm doing now? You see? So we are programmed that relaxation, that happiness, just joy is outside of us. Nobody has told us that it's within us. When we say we are happy, we feel it inside. It's not something outside. Yeah, outside factors contribute to it at some level, but real happiness does not need a reason or a season or anything or anyone. But because we were never raised with that awareness, we don't know how to access it. Now, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything, please feel free to ask.
So there's a question, what is the best way to handle uncomfortable or unwanted feelings? For example, feelings like anger.
Okay, now, see, that's a good question. How do we handle? The first thing is we react, we judge our feelings. Feelings are just feelings. So how to handle is by not judging it, but to be with it. And we have never learned to be with the feeling. If you breathe into it, you allow it to be, the feeling will disperse. It's a sensation, okay? So what we are doing is we are constantly, because anger is actually not itself a single emotion. Underneath anger, there are many, many other emotions of sadness, hurt, betrayal, jealousy, guilt. All of this creates anger. But you know, I tell people that anger always feels better than sadness. So people use a lot of anger, and anger actually drives you to do things, right? So we use anger. So the best way is to be with that feeling, breathe into it, allow it to be, and then slowly you will understand why you reacted that way. And once you understand it, you will let that go. Now, I'm going to give very short answers because I have some more questions.
So now the next person is taking it to the next level, to depression.
Well, I'm going to just answer a little bit about depression. Depression is, of course, the plague of the century. I think every other or every third person I meet, at some stage in their life, they have experienced depression. I think most of us do. And I always tell people, depression is actually not a condition. It is a way your body is bringing up all those suppressed feelings and emotions that you have never addressed. Okay. So depression has become a condition. Medical science has made it into a condition. They give you antidepressants, so get over it, okay? And so that you can be more functional. So, but depression is not a bad thing. If we get quiet with it, sit with it, which is the same thing with any other emotion. If we sit with it quietly and just be with it and give it some time, reflect on it, and make a different choice of seeing things, because with every emotion and feelings, there is always a thought. And when you look at what thought you are having and you change your thought, looking as the day as not hot, but the sun shining brightly, okay? That's just the difference. You can also, by changing your thought, you will change the feeling and emotion also. So I hope this answers some of your questions. And so we'll move on to what is the next thing, okay? Now, thoughts are the language of the mind, and feelings are the language of the body. And what happens is that when we secrete these hormones of stress, which are all low vibrational emotions of anger, blame, jealousy, guilt, fear, all of these, which we are all experiencing because of the situation we are all in, okay? What we had learned to do is distract ourselves, numb ourselves, avoid it, okay? Or do anything that we should not feel, medicate ourselves. Of course, that's one of the big things also that we have learned to do. And that doesn't mean that all this energy of depression or anger or uncomfortable, unwanted energy is gone. It's still there. What you have done is you have just suppressed it, and it is still there. You know, when I was growing up, something that happened in my childhood made me very, very angry. And I never let go of that anger till a time came in my life when I knew that if I don't do anything about this anger is going to implode in me. And this is what happens. You know, Chinese medicine, which is ancient, okay? They say, if you have anger, it'll affect your liver. You have fear, that affects your kidneys. You have sadness, affects your lung. Worry affects your digestive organs. Blame, guilt, shame, guilt affects your reproductive sexual organs. So every emotion has a vibration, okay? And if we hold these emotions in, they are like energies and like time bombs ready to explode, because the body can only take so much. There will come a time when we are like, done, I can't. And that's where people have nervous breakdowns or go into depression or experience illnesses and diseases and all that, okay? So I knew when I had a lot of anger, I just knew I have to let this go. And it was a process for me. But it wasn't easy, but I knew I had to do this. And I made a commitment to myself that I'm going to look at this and I'm going to get somewhere with this. And not that anger doesn't come up, but now I'm more conscious about it. When you become aware of your thoughts and emotions, is when you have some control over your life. Otherwise, your thoughts and emotions are going to control you. Now, Faisal, if there's any question, tell me. I'm not going to read that. So you can tell me if there's anything for me to answer. I will also tell you something, that about the hormones we secrete, okay? Because this is about biological upgrade of your body. We are talking about what does that even mean? That means is that every thought, every emotion has a physiological reaction in your body. Did you know that? To the extent that sometimes every thought even has an impact on your DNA. Every thought is creating a circuitry in your brain even. If you have a repetitive thought, the network in your brain starts getting more tighter, stronger connections, and then you can't stop having that thought because you created such a strong circuitry in your brain. Okay. But when we choose to have a new thought, you know what happens is, first thing in your brain, new neural pathways open up, new circuitry opens up, and then new wiring starts. Okay. So nerve cells that fire together, wire together. So we start new circuitry in our brain. And that circuitry, you have to visit often, think, focus on it more to make it stronger. And that is where practice comes in. If you watch people doing certain yoga or certain movements and exercises or acrobatics, and you think, how are they able to do that? Because I can't do it. How are they able to make their body so flexible? They're able to do it because first is they really were passionate about doing that. They put all effort into learning and doing that. And then they practiced it and they practiced. We as humans, we think everything should be instant because we live in that world that has taught us that everything should be instant. Okay. So what we have done also, and this is again, I'm going to talk to you about Chinese medicine, that if anybody has had acupuncture done, you know that what acupuncture does, it releases the energy blocks from the qi, the way it's flowing in your body. And then you start feeling better. Okay. There's no magic. This is what they're doing. Okay. At the energy level, they're removing the energy blocks. And then as the energy flows better, your body starts healing. Our body is made to heal by nature. Okay. But we are conditioned to think that it cannot heal without external things. Yes, sometimes we need food, of course, to replenish the body because, we have a physical body that needs the fuel. And so what we do is we keep getting out. We are so conditioned that our wellness is only conditioned to external. So if I have the right job, if I am successful, if I have a certain car, certain this, certain that, I'll be happy and peaceful. No, actually, we created a comfort zone for ourselves. Happiness and peace does not need all this. That is why the whole world is talking about peace, but nobody feels peaceful. Because we have conditioned peace also. And peace is a state of beingness only. So, Chinese medicine, at one level, I want to, before I forget, I want to make sure I tell you this. And one of my very good friends is a Chinese medicine practitioner. And she told me one day, she said, Anisa, we have two batteries in our body. One is a daily battery, one is a life battery. Our daily battery can be recharged every day, okay? But the life battery cannot be recharged. Now, how do we recharge our daily battery? You know, we charge our phones all the time so we can get connected, right? So with food, sleep, exercise, rest, good nutrition, supplements, meditation, music, all of these things, nature, of course, these are some of the elements that recharges our battery. But what happens is the way we are now and the world we live in, we have no time to recharge. We wake up in the morning and we are thinking about the day that we are going to go through, and already the mind, the focus we are putting on the body is already in a stress mode. Okay. And when the body goes in a stress mode, it's again secreting stress hormones. When stress hormones are secreting, a lot of your energy is going into trying to secrete and make those stress hormones. Now, there is not enough energy to go and support your immune system. So you are actually starting to weaken your immune system now. And by 10 in the morning, we have had so many thoughts thinking about the day we are going to have, the boss we are going to meet that we hate, and then having lunch with a friend that we cannot stand, and then meet and people pleasing that we have to do, and the traffic that we have to go. We haven't even started our day yet. But the thought of all of that is already real to the body. You already did it. Okay, at an energetic level, your body is already had the experiences of all the thoughts that you put in your head. Now, to give you an example is, if I told you, think of a lemon in your mouth, what happens? Immediately you feel that sour taste because you have a memory, and your body is secreting, your salivary glands are activated and secreting saliva. When actually the lemon is not even there in your mouth, right? But the body thought it is there. So the physiological reaction already started. So when you're thinking of the stressful thoughts going through the day, the body thinks you have already done all that. You have put yourself through all that. And already you have wasted a lot of your energy. So by 10 in the morning, if you had 100% energy, it's down to 60 or 50 now. And now you still have the rest of the day to go through. Then we go to work and we see our colleagues and we don't like this and don't like this. And, you know, we are kind of so focused on all the problem solving and all of that depletes more of your energy. And now you're running your body on a very low energy, and you have no time to recharge your daily battery, right? We have no time to recharge. People I know, they skip their food, they don't even have time to sleep, and if they sleep, they can't relax. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, we all have that, okay? So what happens is that we still have to go through the rest of our day, and our daily battery is so depleted that the body takes energy from the life battery now. And the life battery starts this depleting now. Now, the life battery can hold you for that long, but if it comes to a certain level of depletion, that is when the body starts breaking down and getting sick. And for some people, sometimes it's a bit too late, right? So if there's anything, see your life as this. How can I just recharge myself? And this is a recharge. We're having a global recharge we're all going through. Okay. Yes, there are certain challenges we are all going through. But can I see it as something beneficial so that I don't create a lot of fear and anxieties and uncertainties in my life? Yes, it is very uncertain. Nobody can tell you what's going to happen or how long this is going to last. Nobody can tell you that, right? So am I going to live my life in fear and create problems for myself? Or am I going to relax and say, wow, this is what I have. What is the best I can do now? This time that I have, how do I make the best use of it now? Yeah. How do I go inward, self-reflect, feel good, feel happier, feel joyful? And by the way, if we have gratitude every day, if we learn to practice gratitude every day, it will really raise your vibration high. It is a boost for your energy body. Yeah. And through awareness is how we get there, becoming conscious and aware of what it's doing to our body, how depleted we are, what do we want now? See, most of the time, much of our focus goes into what we don't want. We think about mostly what we don't want, but we think very little, put our focus very little on what we want. So wherever goes your focus, there goes your energy. So when you don't want something and you're thinking about it, you're already connected to it, right? We are connected to that thought. And it's depleting because the mind cannot understand, your body is not understanding the negating, I don't want whatever, okay? The body hears it, I want. And it hears that word and it depletes your energy again because, it creates stress in your body. When your body is in a stress mode, it goes in a defense mode. When your body is in a defense mode, your immune system weakens, okay? This is how biologically it's affecting our bodies. So yes, we can go out, get the bestest kind of food and the bestest nutrition and supplements and exercises and environment, create the best environment. But if I'm not feeling good and happy and relaxed inside, all of this will not make any permanent change because it's still external. Now, how do we internalize what we create at an external level? And how we internalize this, create an internal reality is by choice, by watching our thoughts, making a choice to how we want to change, what change we want. Now, there's a very easier way, and I can actually just give you a little bit of synopsis of what you can do on a daily basis. Is you wake up in the morning, okay? And as soon as we wake up, most of the time we have thoughts from the previous day, okay? Which things that didn't go right and all that, and then we are thinking of all the thoughts. So what we are doing is we are putting our focus on that, okay? Now, you can start becoming aware of that, become more conscious of that, because your mind wants to go back to the old familiar way of how it wants to think and feel, because we are addicted to it. We are addicted to the hormones that it is secreting in your body. So as soon as you notice your body going to the familiar energy, you say the magic word, change. Change. And the mind will hear it and say, change? What does that mean? And as you keep practicing and doing, what you're doing is you're breaking that thought pattern and you're giving yourself that moment of, oh, I can create something else, okay? Because, if you hold a thought for 16 seconds, it starts gaining momentum. You can hold a thought for 68 seconds, it starts becoming your reality. You will start seeing everything from that perspective of your thought. So when you say change, you're breaking that momentum of your thought. It doesn't matter what. Start with that. And then take a breath. Okay. And then you will start feeling, oh, I feel a bit different. I feel a bit lighter. I don't feel that, that crappy energy again. And the more you keep doing and practicing, you can again, middle of the day while you are driving or working with your colleagues and something goes wrong or happens, and you feel that again, that familiar energy come up and you start noticing, say, change. Change. Sometimes I have to say it a few times, change. And the mind says, oh, but you know, that thought is really good. I was so right about it. I have the right and I'm fair and I'm just in that. And I say change because I know it is a right thought, but it's still coming from a place of ego. And anything that comes from your ego is not fueling your soul or your heart. It's only giving this righteous feeling to your mind. Okay. And then especially when you're going to bed at night, you're turning in, you know, we are again, all these thoughts come up from the day, things that happened, things that didn't happen, things that I should have done and I could have done. And the familiar energy starts creeping in again to make you feel not good at some level. And you again notice and say, change, change. Okay. So if you start building this practice, noticing your thoughts and energy, okay, and changing it, making a different choice, having a new behavior, new experience, and teaching your body a new emotion. Emotion of gratitude, joy, acceptance, compassion, kindness, love, bliss. See, we all want all these emotions, but the thing is, we have never taught or familiarized our body with these emotions enough. But when we familiarize it, it says, wow, I feel better with this emotion. I want more of this. Okay. Now, people ask me, so how do you create that? And I tell them, just imagine it. Through imagination, before even the event happens, if I put my focus on what I want, I'm not talking about the external want, I'm talking about the internal want. How would I want to feel? What state of mind and place I want to be in? And I actually start feeling it, creating it through gratitude, through just observing and being in the present moment. It will start getting much easier for us to get to that space, to get to that stillness within us. And it will uplift you. And the more you practice, the more you like it. And now you're creating an addiction to the good hormones that are secreted when you feel happier. Endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, all of these good hormones are secreted. And do you know in turn what these good hormones do? They signal new genes in your body. Yes. And these new genes are going to create upregulating proteins for your body, for its wellness, for its healing, for its repair, for its, what do we do, detoxification and all of that. They are all these proteins that our body needs to function well. Our body is a protein manufacturing machine, factory, except the red blood cells. I think the rest of every cell makes proteins. So when with new thoughts and new emotions, you are signaling new genes and creating, upregulating proteins, you're creating wellness. And you didn't even have to go out and buy anything to create that wellness in your body, because you're learning to create it from within first. Okay. Now, is there any comments?
So
Or
you've covered some of the questions. So basically, once you're aware of a thought that has a low vibration, what would you do? So I think you've covered that. If you want to answer it again.
Okay, good. You want me to answer again?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to reconfirm for them.
Okay. So when we have a low vibrational thought, okay, it is coming from somewhere. Somewhere we learned. It's every thought that we have. It's a perception that we had about life, about ourselves, or about somebody else. It's a perception. So I looked up, and when I'm growing up and my mother is there, and then I want her attention or her love, and she's busy doing something, or she ignores me, I get a perception that she doesn't love me, or I'm not important, or I'm not significant. That's my perception, okay? That's not real. That's not based on truth. But because as children, we did not have filters, we just absorbed everything that came to us, and we perceived it in different ways. Okay? So my perception is incorrect. That is when my thought is incorrect. So when we have these low vibrational feelings, there is definitely a thought that is creating this feeling. So we look at the thought that my mother didn't love me. Now, is that even true? And some people can say, yes, it is, because she did this or that, or wasn't there for me. And, a lot of horror stories I've heard. And I've always told people that unless you see love, because in that moment in time, they were doing the best they knew how. In that moment in time, that was the best expression of love they could give you. They couldn't do better. And of course, there's another layer to that, which I'm not going to go into right now. But can I let this go? Because the important thing is, what do I want, and what do I want to give myself? Is this thought loving to me? Is this thought good for me? Is this thought upgrading my version of who I am, or is it a down-regulating thought? See, it's not rocket science. It's very simple. We have to make very simple choices. But by just start with little simple choices, everything else that looks complicated will also simplify for us.
Now, there's a question going a little further saying, how do you overcome paralyzing fear, which is due to past failures, divorce, lost job? As a result, you use avoidance, rejection. So what would you, I mean, it's again the same, it's a continuation of what you started, maybe add a little more spice.
Yes, and like I said, fear energy is very infectious energy. The more you live in fear, the more you live in fear. The more you generate fear, and you're creating more fear, okay? And it's the same way we understand what am I really deeply afraid of. And I know some people cannot access that because it's so deeply ingrained in their subconscious that they don't have the tools to access it. Meditation is one. Maybe going for some therapy and finding out, what is the root cause, because fear, there are a lot of root causes, underlying deeper causes to our fears, okay? So when we address, let's say if I'm a child, okay, and I was growing up and life was very insecure because that's how my life looked like, okay? And my parents couldn't give me the security that I needed. And they said, life is not good. it's going to get you. So you better watch out, and you better be always on the lookout for people, because you cannot trust them, and people are going to do this. They already put us on high alert mode. Okay. Now we are continuing to live that. We've been building on it, building on it, building on it, because it is such a deep programming we have, deep belief we have, that we didn't even know where it started. It started somewhere in your subconscious, and it has taken root there. Understand, we are 90% of who we are is our subconscious. We are not conscious of it. Okay. So if I look at my fear, like the other day, I was talking to this young boy, and he was talking about how he gets all paralyzed in an elevator. Okay. And I was talking to him, and then it came to that when he was a child, he felt his mother's fear, and only when he became paralyzed and fearful, only then the mother gave her attention. So now fear works for him. Okay. So when he goes and gets into an anxious mode or panic mode, he gets attention, maybe. Okay. So, there are many, many reasons and causes to it. So, again, we have to go to the thought. What choice am I making here? Okay. What experience do I want to have? What emotion do I want to feel here? Because if I live in fear, most of us, we want to be free. We want to feel freedom. We want to feel this freeness, lightness in our bodies, right? But then we think, but something has to change outside of me, or somebody else has to change for me to feel better. And I told them, no, imagine as if it's already happened. So if you want a fast answer, a quick way, and actually it's a very effective way also, if you practice and you imagine as if somehow that fear, that whole thing is gone and you're liberated, how would that emotion feel? Because if I am living with fear, I want liberation and freedom in my body, right? I want to be free. I want to feel joyful. So can I imagine that feeling as if I already have it? And teach my body that emotion now. So clear intention, which is, I'm done with living in fear. I'm done. And then elevated emotion, which is of liberation, freedom, love, joy, bliss, whatever, trust. When we work on both, that's when things change for us. And our realities change, because our inner reality we changed, okay? And the outer reality has to change, because our inner vibration changed. Our electromagnetic field changed. People will feel different being around you when you're not coming out of fear anymore. There will be a totally different vibration now. And that's what you're signaling out now to the universe. And then you will attract things that are more liberating, more joyful, more freer. Does that answer the question?
Yes. So you're talking about creating a new script through visualization. Yes. How about through journaling? You haven't touched anything on journaling.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
If people want to journal, if there's a lot of thoughts that has really bothered you about someone, then, or some things in your life, journaling is another way. Okay. That you can journal it out, all the fearful things, fearful thoughts, beliefs, and emotional bonds that we have that has created a lot of fear in us. So if we journal on it, we become more clearer also about it, and we can then start letting all that go. But everything starts with a clear intention. Unless I have the intention and I know how I want to feel, even journaling would not give you unless I've created an inner space for that. Okay. So yes, journaling also can help.
So you're basically saying, but to have that intention, we also require clarity, right? So once we have the clarity, we can create the intention. So how does one get to clarity? By experiencing what you're saying, that internal, incredible happiness and
Again,
bliss,
clarity
etc.
clarity is all about how would I want to live my life? Okay, what is it that I want? We all want to feel happy. We all want to feel joyful. We all want to feel love. Okay, so in that respect, we all can make that choice. We don't need to dissect everything to reach that place, because if eventually everything we do in our lives is to feel good and feel happy. It's just that we get so caught up in the doing that we forget that what I'm doing this is to feel happy and good. So clarity, yes, journaling can give you some clarity. Talking to a therapist can give you some clarity, yes. And hand in hand, it can work better and faster, yes.
So what I'm hearing you say is that our default is to be in that space, but there's been so much clutter that we've forgotten that default. And you would need to do a lot
Absolutely.
of this work that you said, the rewiring, the new scripting, to be able to go back to our actual default phase that we were in as a child. So we have to move back to that.
Absolutely. We know that. We know that place within us, but we have forgotten because we never lived in it long enough, or we were not allowed to be there.
So in the last few minutes, how would you help the next generation, your children, to not be creating all this clutter, and helping them not having to go through this exercise as an adult or a teenager to remember, and helping them be in that state moving forward? What can we do in terms of how we show up to help them remain in that state?
Yes, and I feel what has really damaged us is because our feelings were never validated. Okay, how we felt was not validated as a child. So if we learn to listen to our children and validate what they're feeling, there is no wrong or right feeling. Okay, and listen to them and have a communication and validate what they're going through, acknowledge what they're going through, because that's just their reality. That is just how they're seeing it. And then you can give them certain choices. Do you think you want to see it this way or that way? Do you think if you live with this kind of upsetness or anger, what would this do? So actually, from the very beginning, if we were to teach our children that kind of clarity about what they feel, and they have choices that they can make, and they can think differently, they can reconnect back to the love that they have within us. You know, we have this infinite intelligence within our bodies that is running this body. You know, in a second, there are millions, I don't know how many millions chemical reactions happen in this body. So what an intelligence we have inside. We don't connect to it. Teach them to connect to that intelligence through meditation, through praying, through whatever ways that works for you. Talk to them about it. Because I always tell people there are 3 C's that create our personalities: childhood, culture, and collective consciousness. And then there are 3 C's that liberates us: compassion, choice, connection. We have never learned to connect with ourselves. If we are not connecting with ourselves, we have never connected to that inner wisdom that lies within us either, that inner joy that lies within us either. Hope that answers.
That's a beautiful answer, Anisa. Thank you very much. Are there any closing remarks? And I think 2 sets of 3 C's was beautiful to close on, but if there's something you'd like to share as a closing remark before all of us move either to have dinner or continue working, because people are showing up from all over the world.
I really wish you would all use this time that has been given to us for your own wellness. and take charge of it. Nobody else is in charge of your well-being. Only you are. And you can take the charge back and create that joy and love and all these wonderful emotions. Become a child. What made you feel curious about things? What did you enjoy doing? What was so fun about it? Become that child. Play with that child within you. Teach that child different way of looking at life. In my work with people, I always take them back to that child, and we have dialogues with the inner child and show the inner child the truth of how they were loved till they really see it, and then they start loving themselves. So bringing them back to this loving themselves, seeing themselves as who they are, as nature creator has created them. They are not some accident or anything. Okay, so giving them that idea of their worth. And do that with your inner child, and that would be wonderful to use this time to work on yourself at that level.
Thank you very much, Anisa. Self-care, self-love, but from an inner child perspective, bringing curiosity and remembering, right? That this is our inner core.
And having fun and letting that little child in you have fun and give that child the stability, the safety that the child needed. Okay, all in your mind, you can create a different reality of your childhood. It doesn't matter if it was not a factual thing. What matters is that your whole energy changes and you start seeing your life from a different perspective now.
All right, thank you, Anisa. We're a little bit over time.
Everyone.
Thank you very much for your time, your wisdom.
Very, very welcome.
Your sharing. Thank you for the stories.
And I send my blessings to each and every one of you. Happy body is a healthy body. Remember that.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see you again next Wednesday. We have Dr. D that's going to be talking about mind-body axis, which is actually talking about how the mind impacts the body and vice versa. Then we have Philip and myself speaking about how our state of being impacts the family. And then Kathleen will be back sharing with us how to master our emotions. So thank you very much. It's an absolute honor and privilege, as always, to be here, to have you with us.
Thank you, everyone,
as we
for
share.
joining us.
And we'll see you again next week. Thank you, Anisa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.